Mr. C here, and I have the best book to share with you this week. I know in Cougar Compass time you spend time with your teacher and your classmates talking about emotions and feelings, and just that awareness of a really important part of us, and how understanding that emotional side of ourselves can be really, really important. Because in some cases, it can be a real block between the work we need to do and our success in school, in life, really. And this week, as we talk about understanding differences and having some sensitivity to those around us that may be a little different from us, I came across this book last year during one of our training sessions. We teachers, we're always learning. And we had been doing a lot of work with our workshop model, our reading workshop model, and we got to talk about some great books and some great authors. And I have one that I want to share with you today called The Day You Begin. And it's by Jacqueline Woodson, and she's a beautiful way of telling the stories she tells. And this book is perfect for this week. So as I read, I want to model with you how you can have a conversation with the text. And you might say, Mr. C, this is a book. It's not going to be able to talk to you. But it can. And because the author has put their heart and soul in the words that they choose to share in the story, if you really give yourself a little time to think about what the author is sharing with you, you absolutely can have a conversation with the text. And what's even greater is then you can take that conversation and share that with others around you, with your families, with your classmates, with your teachers, so that you can share what it is that you took away from the story. So I'm going to read for you, and I'm going to just show you some ways that you can key in on, like, maybe things that the character says, or a connection you may have, a question you could ask along the way, some noticings, or even making some predictions. So I've prepared a few little thought points that I want to kind of tag up there, just so I can show you how I like to have a conversation with the text. Okay, so The Day You Begin. This might be one of my new favorite books. And I know I say that a lot. I have a ton, but man, these books are so great. All right, so this is a Nancy Paulson book. It's our publishing house, the Penguin Random House branch of publishers. So there will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you. And look at the look on her face. Think about those words. No one there is quite like you. Maybe it will be your skin, or your clothes, or the curls of your hair. I wonder if you've ever had that feeling. There will be times when no one understands the way words curl from your mouth, the beautiful language of your country you left behind. My name is Rigoberto. We just moved here from Venezuela. And because they don't understand, the classroom will fill with laughter until the teacher quiets everyone. As I stop and think about these first few pages, our characters actually, I think we've got a few here, seem to be feeling a little bit different or lonely, maybe even a little uncomfortable. So I'm going to add my sticky note here to my noticings chart, because it's just something I'm noticing about how the character is feeling. Okay? A little bit lonely, a little bit different, quite a bit different, actually, for many reasons. Let's go on. Rigoberto from Venezuela, your teacher says so soft and beautifully that your name and homeland sound like flowers blooming the first bright notes of a song. I notice his emotions, at least in the picture, seem to change, and I love the way the author uses this figure of speech, comparing it to the bright notes of a song. When the teacher says his name and where he's from so beautifully, I think he starts to feel a little more comforted. I even wrote down, like home. Okay, so being in a place that seems so different, but for the first time he's feeling a little like home. I'm going to go ahead and add that up to my notices section right there. Just in that simple act of saying his name in the way that it's supposed to be said and acknowledging where he's from. There will be times when the words don't come. Your own voice, once huge, now smaller, when the teacher asks, "What did you do last summer?" Tell the class your story. "We went to France," Shayla says. "These shells came from a beach in Maine." A boy named Jonathan holds out a jar filled with tiny shells, so fragile. "They look like they'll turn to dust in your own untraveled hands." "My whole family went to India, Spain, South Carolina." Each souvenir a small triumph of a journey. Their travels going on and on. She's still definitely feeling so different. I wonder if it's because she didn't have experiences like that. And as you stand in front of the room, you can only remember how the heat waved as it lifted off the curb, and your days spent at home caring for your sister, who made you laugh out loud and hugged you hard at nap time. You can only remember the books you kept on reading long after she had fallen to sleep. And in that room, where no one else is quite like you, you'll look down at your empty hands and wonder, what good is this when other students were flying and sailing and going somewhere? You notice she's feeling really shy and afraid to really share her own experiences. And I think she's afraid to share her own experiences because she doesn't feel like they compare to all those experiences that her classmates have had. Like, she didn't go anywhere. How is that going to compare with these trips and these awesome experiences that the kids have had? Look at all these feelings the author is packing into the start of our story so we can better understand our characters, right? And maybe what they're feeling and thinking. Okay? There will be times when the lunch your mother packed for you is too strange or too unfamiliar for others to love as you do. I know sometimes kids will do that, wrinkle their nose at something they don't see or have experienced before. My son did it last night when I served him something brand new, and I don't like it. I was like, well, you haven't tried it yet. But I'm sure this happens often, at a lunch table if a student brings in something a little different that we're not used to seeing in a lunchbox. When even your friend Nadja, who wrinkled her nose and say, "What's in there anyway?" And you'll wonder how she doesn't see the rice beneath the meat and kimchi. You'll wonder why she doesn't remember that rice is the most popular food in the world. I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the board. What's in there anyway? That's character talk. And that's coming from a friend. But did you notice the way I read it? I have a feeling is probably the way that our character heard it, right? That it's kind of like an insult, like, geez, what is that, really? And that's her lunch. That's what she's planning to eat. And she might absolutely love it, right? It's food from home that has been prepared for her. It gives me a sense of how others' words really impact us. There will be times when the climbing bars are too high, the run is too fast and far, the game isn't one you can even really play. I don't want him on our team. You can watch. Maybe you can have a turn later. I wrote down this character talk. I don't want him on our team. I could have actually put this right in between these two, because while this is a character talk, I've heard that before. I was never picked first on a team, and I wasn't that kind of kid. I wasn't very athletic. Um, I know what that feels like to hear that, and then to know that nobody wanted you first or on that team at all, and how lonely that makes you feel. Look at him right here. Look how he's feeling left out, not wanted. There will be times when the world feels like a place that you're standing all the way outside of. In those moments when I heard things like that, I know I had those feelings before. Where you were so not a part of everybody else's game or their world. Look how far away the author and illustrator put this little boy just to show you the way that he's feeling. And all that stands beside you is your own brave self, steady as steel and ready, even though you don't yet know what you're ready for. I'm asking a question right now because I noticed that the author uses the word brave right here. And up until now, our characters don't seem like they have much bravery or courage. I wonder why the author uses the word brave at this point in the story. So here I'm going to go ahead and ask that question. I wonder why all of a sudden, after sharing all these different stories or moments where these kids don't feel so brave or courageous, and feeling so different and lonely, why at this point the author has decided to say, and all that stands beside you is your own brave self. Okay, well, we know he's feeling lonely, but his own brave self, steady as steel, and I love this line, even though you don't yet know what you're ready for. And you know what? This makes me think. I'm going to make a little prediction. I think our character may use that bravery and maybe begin to open up to the class. And I'm curious if that comes from within himself or maybe if somebody else maybe opens up to him first. But I think the way they're talking about your own brave self, maybe they're talking about the character feeling courageous to open up. Let's see what happens. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you until the day you begin to share your stories. My name is Angelina, and I spent my whole summer with my little sister, you tell the class, your voice stronger than it was a minute ago, reading books and telling stories. And even though we were right on our block, it was like we got to go everywhere. Notice how her emotions are changing as she's just starting to open up and share a little bit. Feeling a little more brave just to share what it is she did. Notice she didn't make up anything. She shared the truth. This is what they did. Your name is like my sister's, Rigoberto says. Her name is Angelina, too. And all at once, in the room, where no one else is quite like you, the world opens itself up a little wider to make some space for you. Look how the students really are quite interested in this character, in this girl, and her story. This is the day you begin to find the places inside you. Your laughter and your lunches, your books, your travel, and your stories, where every new friend has something a little like you, and something else so fabulously not quite like you at all. Oh, look at that, how they ended. Definitely not feeling so lonely anymore, right? Feeling a little more connected, finding some similarities, yet all those fabulous, wonderful things that make them different. I love this book. You know, I shared a connection earlier about how I felt, how I connected. It definitely resonated. But I remember starting a new job at a new school, even in a new state when I first moved to Georgia. And I remember feeling that nervous and that shy, that lonely feeling, until that day that I started to feel a little more comfortable to share about myself. And by doing that, I started connecting with people and making great friendships and learning about new folks and new things. And so that's another connection I'm able to make. I love this book, The Day You Begin. I think it's so important for all of us, really, to find that bravery inside of ourselves, especially when we're feeling a little on the outside or we're feeling not quite like everyone else. To feel brave about being the 100% you are, celebrating all the wonderful things about you, your culture and your family and your interests, right? All the things that make you you. Celebrate them, share them, right? I think that's a phenomenal theme in this book. And I think it speaks beautifully to our focus this week with Cougar Compass. So I really hope you enjoyed it. And the next time you're reading a book, try one or a couple of these where you have a conversation with your text. Key in on what characters are saying, right? Make some connections with the text, all right? You've had your own experiences when they connect to the text. Stop and think about how they relate and why all of a sudden you had that thought about that moment in your life. Don't be afraid to ask questions. It might help you keep on moving with the text or understand something later. That's where making predictions can come into play. And of course, make those noticings. Stop and think about characters, how they're feeling, maybe some of their actions, and maybe reasons why they're happening. Notice how when I read, I don't just read real quick and move along. I like to stop and think about what's happening and how the author's presenting those ideas. So have a conversation with the text the next time you're reading, and I think it'll open up a whole new world of information, of excitement, of enjoyment in the books that you read. All right, I hope to see you all soon, and I hope you read something great today. All right, bye-bye.